Why is the managing editor of the Journal.ie tagging a random Twitter user's employer just because he politely disagreed with her publication's article? This is Ben Scallan and you're watching Gript Media. The Journal.ie made waves online recently by publishing what some have dubbed the worst fact check of all time. The fact check was published in response to an advert that appeared in the Irish Times yesterday, which laid out some facts and figures in relation to COVID-19 in Ireland. The advert tried to make the case that the government's policy in relation to restrictions on businesses, socialising and free movement are mistaken. We'll include the link to the ad in the description of this video so that you can read it for yourself. What the ad does, as you can see for yourself, is to present a series of factual statements which are clearly designed to suggest that the continued lockdown is a disproportionate response to coronavirus and that COVID-19 is not as virulent as was first suspected. It points out that most of the deaths are amongst those who are older than the average life expectancy. This is, of course, true. It points out that most of the deaths are associated with pre-existing conditions. This, too, is true. It points out that the young are vastly likely to survive and that there is some dispute about how the deaths are calculated. These, too, are true facts. And it ends with a call to action, asking whether there might be a better way to approach the illness than the policy adopted by the government at present. Now, is there room for debate on all of these questions? Well, of course there is. But whatever your view is on the lockdown, there's nothing radical or offensive about this ad. It's a perfectly reasonable position which you can choose to agree or disagree with. Managing editor of Journal Media, Susan Daly, however, simply wasn't having any of this. The Irish Times made the wrong call, she said, in publishing the ad. Would love to have heard the debate in the Irish Times around publishing an ad that flies in the face of responsible reporting media in general has done around COVID. And there must have been a debate if editorial felt the need to row in with a contextual article. By the way, wrong call. Ms. Daly's subordinate, Christine Bowen, editor of the Journal.ie, went further. The ad was using the same language as the far right, she said, and should not have been published. There's a responsibility on the media to be thoughtful and smart about what we publish. This ad is irresponsible. The language in it is the same as in many of the far-right Facebook pages we monitor, including the ones who turned up outside our door to intimidate us. Do better. But that's not where it ended. The fury in journal media circles that such an ad had seen the light of day led them to publishing a 2,200-word fact check, which amounts to possibly the most dishonest thing any media outlet has done in Ireland in living memory. Their headline read, "Fact check. Claim made in full-page Irish Times ad about COVID-19 deaths is false." We've written a response to this, which you can find in the description of this video or on our website, Gript.ie. To make a long story short, the so-called fact check basically admits that the original ad is factually correct, but then tries to use mental gymnastics to show how it's somehow dishonest anyway. One Twitter user named Brian took to social media to say in response, "So, like the ad, is basically true then." A really weird article. Now, I think most people would agree there's nothing wrong with what Brian said. It wasn't aggressive, it wasn't rude, it wasn't even really an insult. He just said that the article was weird. That's a pretty measured criticism by Twitter standards, I think most of us can agree. And yet, how did senior journal editor Sinead O'Carroll react? Tweets like this are exactly what the people behind the ad want. Very surprised to see the censored link here. Now, what I'm after censoring here is your man's place of work. She tagged his employer in the thread, drawing their attention to it, apparently because he had the audacity to say that the journal's fact check was, quote, weird. Does that seem like reasonable behavior that's becoming of a serious journalist to anyone? The guy criticized the fact check, and yet his employer gets tagged in a thread by the editor of the Journal saying she's surprised that an employee of that firm would have expressed that view, as if he has done something awful that his boss needed to hear about. Sinead has since deleted the tweet after drawing fire from her fellow blue checkmarks and media people at RTE and so on, and she denies that it was done with malicious intent. But as Brian himself said, "You know what you were doing, pal." And I think most people watching this know what that was as well. All in all, it's clear that whatever the Journal.ie is doing over there, it's not journalism. It is a media platform abusing its power and the trust placed in it by its readers to advance the political preferences of its editorial staff. These fact checks are little more than journalists making arguments and throwing a fancy name on them to claim a monopoly on the truth. It's bad for the public, it's dishonest, and it should be devastating to their journalistic credibility. As Gript's John McGurk said, "These people rant and rave and yell about the far right, but the only people who consistently behave like actual fascists in this country, relentlessly enforcing groupthink on pain of disciplinary proceedings, are people like the Journal's editorial board." Please like and share this video, and if you enjoyed it, please consider signing up for a monthly donation via the link on screen to help us produce more content like this. Alternative media like Gript needs all the assistance it can get, and every donation goes a long way. As always, thanks for watching.